Battle of the Merchant Sea. During the Battle of the Atlantic, Hitler's submarines menaced Allied shipping. His submarines were also a scourge for Swedish shipping, as was the British and the Russians. Somewhere around 240 to 300 Swedish ships were sunk during the war by different nations, but in majority sank by the Germans. In 1939, the Swedish Merchant Navy consisted of some 2,259 ships, totaling about 1,600,000 tons. 1939, the war breaks out, and only 24 days later the first Swedish ship is lost. The Gertrud Bratt is sunk by the German submarine U-4. The very next day the ship Silesia is sunk, and the 28th of the same month the ship Nyland is sunk off the coast of Norway. All in all, 24 ships are lost the first year of the war, totaling about 40,000 tons. 1940 was the worst year for Swedish shipping during the war. 83 ships are lost, totaling 200,000 tons. The main reason for this was the German invasion of Denmark and Norway and the subsequent mining of Skagerrak, the strait between Norway and Denmark, in effect stopping all Swedish shipping outside the Baltic Sea. The Swedish Merchant Navy is cut in two equal parts, one outside of this minefield, one inside. Between the 9th of April and the 9th of September, not a single Swedish ship comes from outside the minefield and arrives in Swedish harbors. 19th of May 1940, the ship Erik Frisell is sunk by U-37 en route from Buenos Aires to Gothenburg. No casualties, the ship is sunk by torpedoes and gunfire. 1941. Transit traffic through the Skagerrak minefield is allowed after negotiations between Sweden, the Allies and Germany. When one ship arrives to Sweden, another ship has to sail, keeping the total number of ships inside and outside the minefield the same. 29th of March 1941, the ship Liguria is sunk by U-46. Out of a crew of 26, only 10 managed to get into a life raft, where 2 more dies from exposure. Rescued by the British merchant ship SS Athenik, another man dies on board. This ship is in turn torpedoed only 28 hours later by U-76, and again the survivors have to get into life rafts, but this time all are saved. In 1941, 36 Swedish ships are lost, totaling 105,000 tons. 11th of July 1942, the ship MF Luleå is sunk by a Russian submarine in the Baltic Sea. 8 crewmen dies. In 1942, Sweden lost 46 ships, totaling around 148,000 tons. The 18th of January 1943, the ship Algeria is sunk by British airplanes off the coast of Holland. 2 men dies. In 1943, Sweden lost 30 ships, totaling 80,000 tons. The 13th of June 1944, the ship Fenja is sunk by mines in the Mediterranean. It was traveling to Saloniki for the Red Cross, and after leaving the harbor an explosion is heard and the ship goes down in minutes. All crew are saved by Turkish fishermen. In 1944, Sweden lost 23 ships, totaling 22,000 tons. The ship Magne is sunk the 14th of March 1945 east of Edinburgh by U-714 and went down in minutes. The crews are rescued and the submarine is sunk later that day. In 1945, Sweden lost 9 ships, totaling only 2,000 tons. By 1943, the Swedish Merchant Navy was down to 1,529 ships, the lowest tally of the war. By 1945, the tonnage was back up to the same level as 1939, but with around 200 fewer ships. Because of the heavy mining in and around the Swedish coast, 15 Swedish ships are lost to mines even after the war has ended in Europe. In total, around 1,500 Swedish sailors died during the war. It was not always popular to be in the Swedish merchant navy, and not only because of the danger. The employment agreement was that sailors would get paid and get danger pay as long as they were on board ship. But if the ship was sunk, the payment stopped, as they weren't on board anymore. Meaning that sailors could drift for weeks after being sunk and not get any pay. They could also get fines from the tax office if they did not hand in their tax returns, even if they had been sunk during that time or were unable to get back to Sweden to actually physically hand in the tax return. And even if they managed to get back to Sweden, the police might arrest them for not turning up for the mandatory military service, no matter if they had any chance to get back or not. So many Swedish sailors preferred to serve on other nations' ships, where they would get paid and the taxman did not suddenly take all their money.